So, how'd you like my story?
I still don't know how it ends.
Collaborations between Milla Jovovich and her husband Paul W.S. Anderson are the norm at this point. While we watch them create Resident Evil movies together for years, they're now turning to the world of George R.R. Martin for their 7th collaboration. And with all that Game of Thrones hype behind him, you'd expect Martin to provide a new and interesting fantasy world for the two to play in. It's funny what they say about assumptions, eh? Jovovich stars as Grey Alice, a witch who's on a mission to find a werewolf who's murdering people. As much as the trailer makes it seem like there's something grander, that's really all it is. She hires boys to help her navigate the Lost Lands. Her power is feared, so she's being hunted down by a group of bad guys, headed up by Ash. They're hot on the trail of Grey and Boyce, with the intention of killing them before they reach their destination. The world is a pretty simple post-apocalyptic backdrop with a scale that doesn't really make a lot of sense when you break it down. Almost feels like someone saw Dune and just wanted to copy it. Dave Bautista is his usual self and brings the film the only bit of life that it can muster. Even then, the script does him no favors, and no one really comes out of it unscathed. Boyce makes plenty of stupid decisions and comes across as a bit of a dummy. Then there's Milla Jovovich, who seems half interested most of the movie, completely clashing with the supposed stakes at hand. Given that her character of Grey is intended to be the person that carries over from film to film, I just cannot imagine why she's so bland. When it comes to a sci-fi fantasy movie like this, I look for two things: the action and the world building. Seeing as how the world is just a green-screened Mad Max dystopia, no points in that category. But what about the action? I'd say this is where In the Lost Lands disappoints the most. I could not tell you a single action set piece outside of a train falling into a gorge, Back to the Future 3 style. Most of the hand-to-hand combat feels like something you'd see in 300, which is fine for that film, but it's been nearly 20 years, and to say it's a dated style would be a massive understatement. Doesn't help that In the Lost Lands is so dreadfully boring. Most of the movie is just watching Boyce and Grey go on their journey, but they don't have an interesting dynamic with each other. And there are these long stretches where it feels like we're no closer to our end goal, and the script is simply throwing obstacles in order to stretch the runtime. This is made all the more frustrating when they have to exposition dump at such a rapid pace it'll make your head spin. So much information is dropped in a very small time frame, bringing up the obvious question of why couldn't these things be revealed using nuance and inference versus simply having a character tell us everything verbatim. They're trying to spoon feed us like we're babies, and it does not work. The aesthetic of In the Lost Lands feels like a larger-than-life Mad Max, with its sprawling cities in total disarray and desert appearance. I was often reminded of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon with its stale CGI backdrops. And for those unaware, comparisons to that film are never a good thing. There are some shots that look fine, and others that look like a bad video game. As much as it's trying to create a whole new world, this feels like one we've seen time and time again. And it doesn't help that the green screen work looks like it belongs in a movie produced by Asylum. I'm not sure what about this story intrigued George R.R. Martin enough to focus on this versus finishing up Winds of Winter, but it's genuinely baffling. There's not a hint of originality within the world, and it feels like pieces of so many other and better science fiction and fantasy worlds. There's a twist that occurs that feels so obvious that it's truly an insult to anyone with any modicum of intelligence. The fact that we missed out on Winds of Winter for this makes me dislike this movie even more. I haven't enjoyed a Paul W.S. Anderson movie in some time, so my expectations were already rock bottom, yet even still, this manages to disappoint. Not only is it one of the worst of the year, it sits firmly near the bottom of Anderson's filmography. If anything, I just feel bad for Dave Bautista, who puts his all into his work, even when those around him seem to just be going through the motions. Because as evidenced by Event Horizon nearly 30 years ago, the man can make great cinema. It's just been a long time since he reminded anyone of that. Which is why I'm giving In the Lost Lands a 2 out of 10.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.